June 20, 2025 could well mark a turning point in the contemporary political history of Côte d'Ivoire. Two major figures in Ivorian political life, long seen as opponents or even rivals, have decided to join forces in the face of what they describe as electoral injustice. Laurent Gbagbo, President of the Republic from 2000 to 2011, and Gbagbo and Thiam, former Minister of Planning and an influential figure in international finance, have announced the formation of a strategic alliance between their two political parties with the explicit aim of contesting their exclusion from the October 2025 presidential election and demanding the reopening of the democratic process. This unprecedented coalition brings together the African People's Party of Côte d'Ivoire, PPACI, founded by Laurent Gbagbo upon his return in 2021 after his acquittal by the International Criminal Court, and the Democratic Party of Côte d'Ivoire, African Democratic Rally, PDCI-RDA, a historic party on the Ivorian political scene now led by Gbagbo and Thiam. Although the two men have very different backgrounds, one being an iconic figure of African nationalism, the other having led major financial institutions such as Credit Suisse, they now share the same cause: the restoration of their civil and political rights and the denunciation of an environment they consider increasingly hostile to pluralism and democracy. During a joint conference held on June 20, Gbagbo and Thiam, speaking via video conference, stated that both parties had decided to join forces so that the government would hear the message of the Ivorian people at a time when the future of our country is truly at stake. He warned against the risk of a presidential election stripped of its democratic substance, which, according to him, could not be considered legitimate or credible if it arbitrarily excludes certain major political figures. This position was clearly echoed by Laurent Gbagbo, who, in a direct address, stated, "If others are not allowed the opportunity to compete for power, it is no longer democracy, it is the confiscation of power by a minority." A statement not insignificant. It comes at a time when the political climate is becoming increasingly polarized. For several months, the Ivorian judiciary has invalidated several candidacies, notably that of Gbagbo due to his previous convictions, and that of Thiam on the grounds of not residing within the national territory. For those concerned, these are merely legal pretexts concealing a political strategy, namely, to lock down the democratic process in favor of the ruling power. Laurent Gbagbo, for his part, has launched a parallel movement called Enough is Enough, a true rallying cry for a significant segment of the population that rejects the idea of a fourth term for outgoing President Alassane Ouattara. The latter, who has been in power since 2011, has not yet officially announced his candidacy for 2025. But the signals sent by his camp, particularly through past constitutional reforms, suggest that this possibility is likely. In this climate of uncertainty, the opposition fears yet another candidacy from Ouattara, which it considers illegitimate and dangerous for the country's institutional stability. The reaction from the RHDP, the Rally of Ufwetis for Democracy and Peace, the ruling party, was swift. Party officials downplayed the political impact of the Gbagbo-Thiam alliance, calling their initiative a desperate attempt to return to the spotlight. The RHDP insists that the exclusion decisions were made independently by the judiciary in accordance with the law and denies any political manipulation of judicial institutions. But beyond the legal debate, the question of democratic legitimacy is now being raised. For many observers, both inside and outside the country, the exclusion of prominent figures such as Gbagbo or Thiam contributes to undermining the credibility of the electoral process. In a region of West Africa marked by coup d'etat, pre-electoral tensions, and controversial constitutional revisions as seen in Togo, Senegal, or Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, despite being considered one of the continent's most dynamic economies, cannot afford to trample on fundamental democratic principles without consequences. The alliance between Gbagbo and Thiam, although recent, could mark the beginning of a reshaping of the Ivorian political landscape. On one hand, it symbolizes an attempt to break away from the patterns of past conflicts, particularly the civil war that tore the country apart between 2002 and 2011, and on the other, it gives a voice back to those who feel that the political game is now monopolized by a single faction. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments. You can also follow us on our various platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and especially on the African social network Diba World, available on Android and iOS. For those who are interested, you can also join our WhatsApp community. All useful links are in the description.